Oh, look who it is. It's the guy who hasn't posted in almost a month. Sorry about that. I have a lot of stuff that I've been working on, but I am here because I am late to the party as per usual. But Avenged Sevenfold Nobody is immensely weird, and we really need to talk about it and dissect it. Let's get into it. So, Avenged Sevenfold has released a new single for the first time since, I believe, 2016 was their last album, Exist. And ever since then, I think they had one little single here, but Nobody is the first single off of their new record, which is coming out a little bit later this year. And people are intrigued by how strange it is. And Avenged Sevenfold used to be very metalcore, but then they slowly advanced into this progressive metal sort of style and sound, using things like synthesizers, live orchestral strings, brass, using some really weird music theory with their stuff, and that's what I am here to dissect for you. Synthesizers are nothing new to Avenged Sevenfold. In this beginning, we have an E flat to a D synthesizer sort of beat, if you will, or motif that keeps getting repeated, and I think the guitar does the same exact thing, and it's really heavy hitting, right? If we start talking about the music theory of this song, E flat to D would automatically in my brain think that we're in some sort of key with E flat in it, right? Maybe G minor, maybe something like C minor, or something like that, assuming that it's a minor key. But things get really weird really fast, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint an exact key of the verse of this song, and let me explain why. You can see on the score that we have two flats, and that would automatically signify that we are in the key of G minor, but it's when Matt comes in with the vocals that really threw me in for a loop. And this is something that a lot of composers do, is where they don't exactly entirely define a set key for a song. Instead, they kind of like to play with our ears and keep us guessing and keep that tension going. You see, without vocals, I would almost assume that E flat to D almost sounds like we're tonicizing the note D. Because when I started researching people covering this song, like piano players, they would sometimes use an F sharp in that D, but I didn't really hear one in the actual synthesizer of the studio take. Just from a listener standpoint, it sounds like our key is D for now, but when Matt's vocals come in, he hits some pretty interesting notes. So since we're getting things like F naturals in there, it definitely doesn't sound like we have a D major per se until towards the end of the verse, when we do start in fact getting an F sharp. But we're still sort of getting that feel that we're tonicizing D major, and that's what's really hard for us to interpret the key of this song. So in that department, it could almost sound like we are in G minor, but we're just using a harmonic minor scale, right? That's what I originally thought, until just kind of going through the entire song, I kind of have realized that it's more of a Phrygian dominant sort of feel, because Phrygian dominant is the fifth mode of the harmonic minor scale, right? So that would mean that our notes would be D, E flat, F sharp, G, A, B flat, C, and then we're back to D. That would make the most sense to me offhand, especially of the motif of the synthesizer hitting an E flat into a D. The weird part is the vocals, though, because a lot of people are saying that this song has an acquired taste to it, and this is kind of why it has an acquired taste, is because Matt has a lot of accidentals in his vocals, and in that department, it kind of makes us think, are we in G minor? Are we in D minor? Are we in D major? It's very, very hard to pinpoint it. In my opinion, just off of a initial first listen, to me, it sounds like we are in G minor, but we are using the fifth mode of harmonic minor, which is Phrygian dominant. But again, you have to keep listening to the entire song as a whole and make judgments. So once we get to the pre-chorus, things do mellow out a little bit, and we are for sure in D minor because we get things like a C chord. It does naturally make a D minor scale, and that's not really a problem in that department. And then in the chorus, we do get more D minor stuff with the sweep picking arpeggios from Sinister Gates, and then the C major sweeping arpeggios. And that is nothing weird. Like, that is definitely very Avenged Sevenfold sounding. Now, the weirdest part is by far this a cappella interlude break thing that threw me for a loop. So At first I tried to analyze it by ear, and I heard definitely a little bit of cluster chords, a little bit of chord extensions like 13ths and stuff like that, and ninths. And upon looking at the score that I found, I was kind of right, but the actual thing that he is doing is we're doing something called smooth voice leading with chord extensions, and this is something that a lot of metal singers cannot do, especially these days. The only main other singer that I think has done this in their songs are bands like Queen or maybe Symphony X, those bands that are very operatic and very intricate. So basically the chords that we end up getting is D major into G minor, and then a G minor sharp 13, which spells G, B flat, D, and then E natural, okay? And then after that, we get a D add 9. And then we get a G add 13, which uses an E flat this time instead of an E natural that we had earlier. And this is a really cool thing that you can do, is you can use common tones and slide from one chord to the other by using those common tones, as well as just simply using that sliding method of ooh, going from one note to the other. I'm not a good singer, but if you start using these things, it can sound really, really nice. So then towards the end, we have this really nice part at about 4 minutes in where we get a nice set of tremolo strings, and this was a live orchestra. They had some arrangers and they had a conductor for this whole ordeal, and it sounded really nice. And it was more so that we were again flipping between E flat and D, which was really cool, kind of like a reflection of that synthesizer that we originally heard. And then the guitar solo is very, very crazy. There's a lot of really cool stuff of G minor, of D, of C minor even. And Sinister Gates is just kind of going off and really showing us how much he's been practicing during this whole hiatus. And Sinister Gates was already incredible to begin with, but this solo I think tops pretty much any solo that he has done to date. And it's funny because at the end we do get a half cadence, which to me sounds like we should have ended in G minor, but we were left on a D. So that's a half cadence when you end on the dominant, but you do not resolve it back to the tonic. We need more metal bands like these guys to take more risks in their harmony and their melody, because this song is very out there. They could have very easily written a 3-minute hit just to slap on the charts, and that would have been that. But this is a band that is not afraid to take any risks. I think Matt even said that it should be a thing where each album should be different from the last. That way you're kind of not recycling the same things over and over again, which I definitely understand. A lot of bands do fall under that category of doing the same thing over and over again. And I didn't even mention all the cool other instruments and all the cool vocal layers in this song. Like we have some brass, we have some really cool harmonies with Matt, we have some really cool drum parts. And in general, the mix of this song is honestly pretty top tier. So I'm really excited for this entire album. Maybe I'll do another song from this album and try to analyze that as best I can for you guys. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I will see you guys next time. I promise I will get the next big documentary done of the next big shredder.